Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook at the page of the same name, We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They set you up with online therapists that are master's level or PhD level. They're licensed in their state and they are available. So if you're in any other country, you can get onto BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out some questions, and they will put you with an American therapist if you're having trouble getting therapy in your country. Or if you're in the United States, you're seeing a therapist, you don't like them, you're in a smaller city or a smaller town, you don't want to have to drive forever to go get a new therapist, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, and I will put that down into the description. Okay, so let's hit some of the questions. If someone asks how you're doing and you don't want to give details to avoid upsetting them, but they insist, then when they know you tell them, they leave the conversation. Is that normal? Is that a lack of empathy? Well, I would say trust your gut. So remember, narcissists and abusers in general love to mine for information. They love to mine for information. So if somebody is like, well, how are you doing? And then wanting to get that information, and then as soon as they get it, they peace out. They're probably going to use it against you at a later date. Or they're looking for juicy gossip and you didn't give them any. Or they just don't care, you know? And sometimes people do that. It's like, look, don't ask me how I am if you don't really want to know. You know? So, I mean, it could be any or all of those situations. So, you know, just kind of, how is this person normally? How do they use information against you? Do they use your stuff as juicy gossip? Do they, you know, are they mining for information so that they can use it against you at a later date? Or are they just always just not really caring? So that is something to think about. Okay, why... Let's see. Why an abusive narc, mentally and verbally abused, suddenly rage, they're done, and won't forgive me for calling out their BS. He's just done. It hurts. Of course, I beg to work on it. Okay, so abusers, narcissists, psychopaths, borderline when they're all the way down at the other end. They rage, and they rage to manipulate and control. So generally it is the overt narcissists, the coverts can do it too, but the overt narcissists are the ones that rage because they want to intimidate. They want to intimidate, they want to harm, they want to hurt. And when the target of abuse calls them out on their maladaptive behavior, on their behavior that's just absolutely, you know, reprehensible, they'll flip the script and then they'll, you know, make it all about the other person, or they stonewall. So once they're called out on their behavior, they're just not going to talk to you. They're done. I'm done. You know, they won't take responsibility for what they've done. They won't acknowledge what they've said. They won't, you know, and so you cannot argue. This is what I keep trying to tell you guys. You cannot argue with an abuser. In their little crazy head, in their little magical thinking world, they're always right. They're always right. They've never done a wrong thing in their entire life. Seriously. One of the favorite things that my dad used to say was, you know, I'm never lost and I'm never wrong. I'm only temporarily confused. And I was kind of like, dude, we're out in the middle of a forest, high centered in the middle of a creek. I would have to say we're lost. Yeah. You know, I mean, he never could admit when he was wrong, even when it was like staring him in the face. So they will rather rage and shut you up or stonewall, go completely silent and shut you up so that they don't have to hear the reality of they're not perfect. And that's their biggest fear, is that they are not perfect. And they are not perfect. They are the least perfect person. So it hurts because stonewalling triggers the same response in the brain as pain. So emotional abuse is the same as physical abuse. It all registers the same in our brain. So that's why it hurts. So if somebody is showing you who they are, believe them the first time, get out, save yourself. You cannot fix them. Why? Because you did not break them. You did not break them. You cannot fix them. Not your job. They're not going to get it. They're not going to suddenly, you will be explaining yourself from now until the cows come home. And they're not ever going to go, oh my God, I've been a total a-hole. Why? I should do things differently. Oh, I should apologize. No, they're not going to get it. Their ego cannot handle that. They will never admit to ever having done anything wrong ever in their life. And you beg to work on it. They're not going to, sweetie. I can guarantee you it is dangerous to go to a couples counselor with an abuser. Do not do it. This is abuse. Don't do it. Don't do it because they're not going to change. Listen to me now. Believe me later. They're not going to change. They're not going to get better. They're not going to have an epiphany. They're not going to suddenly have that V8 moment where they're like, oh my God, I've been a jerk. Let me change. No, not going to happen. They're interested in being right, and they're interested in harming, and they're interested in hurting. Healthy people do not intentionally hurt and harm people. They don't stonewall people. Now, we do go no contact, but no contact means you're damaging me. I am no longer going to have you in my life. Goodbye. And then it's goodbye. It's none of this back and forth, and what they do is they'll stonewall until they need narcissistic supply, and then they'll come back and get you. And then of course the intermittent positive rewards were like, oh, they love me again. Oh, it's great. And then we go back. And this is why on average, it takes 7 times leaving an abusive relationship to get out, because that inner child keeps responding to that intermittent positive rewards instead of going, nope, Mother Clucker, you showed me who you were and I believe you the first time. Bye-bye. Peace out. See ya. We don't do that. We go, oh, they're nice again. They're going to love me. No, honey, they're not. They don't love themselves. They don't love. They don't feel the way we feel. They don't process emotions the way we do. If they did, they wouldn't be doing this crap. So my suggestion would be get with a really good trauma therapist and start working on why are you still there? What is it about this relationship that is keeping you stuck? And who does this relationship remind you of? Who in your past does this relationship remind you of? Because generally what happens is the inner child looks outside and goes, ooh, I know somebody who reminds me of family of origin, mom, dad, grandparents, whoever you had the most difficult relationship with. Ooh, they kind of sort of remind me of that. I know if I can get them to love me, I prove these people wrong. Half of a doo-doo sandwich, half of a doo-doo sandwich, total doo-doo sandwich. You don't want that. So get with a good trauma therapist. Start working on Self-Esteem, the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. Boundaries, The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker. I think, I don't know about this workbook, but I do know The Disease to Please is on Audible. So get with a good trauma therapist and start working on this stuff. Okay, I have an odd sense of foreshortened future life. Like I can't imagine growing old and expect in a way to die young. Is this trauma? Absolutely. Yes. 110% yes. So if you look at the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, because it's the 5th one, in PTSD, CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, having a sense of a foreshortened future is a sign of post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what we do because we've been through this insane trauma and we start thinking, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be around. My number's up. Oh, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. Get with a good trauma therapist. Get with a good trauma therapist. There are some really good PTSD workbooks out there. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker is good for the emotional stuff. Other stuff. So the thing of it is, it's like the way the DSM-5 defines trauma is a one-time event, which is why complex post-traumatic stress disorder is definitely needing to be in there because abusive situations, domestic violence, it's not a one-time event. It's a daily event. And it's little different variations on the same abuse. So according to the DSM-5, PTSD is a one-time event. So that would be like witnessing a murder, witnessing a robbery, being in a life-threatening situation one time, Whereas with domestic violence, we're in a life-threatening situation on a daily basis. So that's why they need to address that. But anyway, the point being is when we've had those kinds of trauma, yes, we get that sense of, oh my gosh, I'm not going to live very long. I used to do that all the time. I honest to God thought I was not going to live past age 30. I really didn't. Here I am, 56. What the hell? So do you see where I'm going with that? So get with a good trauma therapist. Start processing the trauma. Start putting the things back on the abuser. And I seriously would write a go pound sand letter to that idea that you're not going to live. Dear idea that I'm not going to live, go pound sand. I get to be the master of my own life. If fate takes me out, great. But you know what? I'm not going to hasten it. So you know what I'm saying? And just put it back on whoever. Who gave you that idea? Who gave you that idea? So yes, it is part of trauma. Abso-freaking-lutely. So get with a good trauma therapist. Start working on a PTSD workbook. There's a lot of them out there. The Emotional Abuse, CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. They talked about abusive relationships in my high school during sexual education. Wow, that's awesome. Now, I got to tell you, when I was going through school back when the dinosaurs were roaming the planet, there was a huge controversy about even talking about sex education. And of course, this is back in the 80s? So it was stupid. It's stupid. Knowledge is power. And these idiot parents were like, oh, if you tell the children about sex, they're going to go have it. Well, I hate to break it to you, they're all going to go have it anyway. So, and it's so funny because the parents that were the most opposed to sex education, their kids were usually the first ones to get pregnant. Don't get me started. So, yeah, it does need to be talked about. It does need to be educated about. Teenagers need to understand self-esteem, self-respect, boundaries, list of deal breakers. So a list of deal breakers is no jealousy. Somebody starts acting jealous, that speaks more to them and their insecurities than it does about your trustworthiness. I think that's a huge one because so many times teens, when I talk to teens, they're like, oh, they're jealous, they love me. No. That is not love. That is not love. So, educating them about that. So name calling, that is not a term of endearment. I can't tell you the number of times I have had people sit on my couch and I had to explain to them that calling somebody a biatch and an a-hole was not a term of endearment. And their relationship was just toxic. And it's just one nasty insult after another. That's not love. Snarkiness is not love. Sarcasm is not love. Nastiness is not love. That's not love. So yeah, talking about that kind of stuff. So that's a deal breaker. Not respecting the word no. Not respecting the word no. No, I don't want to go to fourth base or third base or whatever it's called. I don't want to go all the way. And then having that person, oh, you're a prude, oh, you're this or you're that. That's an immediate ejection. Bye. You're not, You don't respect the word no. If I say no, I mean no. And this comes back to that whole culture of why is it so hard for people to respect the word no? Well, abusers don't. Abusers don't respect the word no because they want to get their way. It's all me, I, more my genitals. So that's a huge red flag. And that is something that needs to be discussed. If somebody says, no, I don't want to do this particular sexual act, that partner needs to back the hell off. That needs to be taught. It does. Because, if they're in an abusive household and there's no boundaries, it's a likelihood that they're not going to understand boundaries. And so the other person is going to have to know, boundary, if they cross it, they're not good for me. So yeah, absolutely. Name calling, I think I went over that. Just respecting the word no. If they don't respect the word no, that is an automatic out. Cheating, oh, I was cheating with so-and-so. No, thank you. Stealing money, stealing your work, stealing, demanding that they copy off of your stuff. No, those are all automatic outs. Total. I mean, if they do one of those things, it's a goodbye. And that's, I think, the hardest thing that adults and teenagers have a hard time with is we keep wanting to give second chances. And there are simply some people on this planet you cannot give second chances to, which is unfortunate, but it is true. So when somebody shows you who they are, we have got to believe them the first time. This goes for adults. This goes for teens. So I think it's great that they were talking about abuse in sex ed. I I hope to God that this becomes a normal conversation, especially with the Me Too movement and everything, because it's like, how many of us have been sexually abused? I was in college. I had a guy walk up to me. I was at the post office and he just grabbed my chest and then he ran off. And I'm like, who the bleep are you, you son of a... I called the cops. Couldn't get him, because he was long gone by that time. But, there are some people out there that feel like they have the right, narcissists usually, and it's not just men. I want to make this very clear. Women can be abusers as well. So, for example, I had a client one time who had a son, and this woman wanted to marry him, and he didn't want it. He stopped dating her. No, we're done. Well, suddenly she says she's pregnant. And so she started posting pictures of the belly, but not of her face, not of the rest of her body. And it turned out she had found a friend that was pregnant and started taking pictures claiming that that baby was hers. That's abuse. That's absolutely. So yes, women can be abusive as well. It's not just, and this is what drives me crazy. And somebody had mentioned this in one of the memes. They're like, I wish these things wouldn't just always say men's masks slip. Well, women's masks slip too. Yeah, they do. Absolutely. I wish the memes were gender neutral because it's true. It can be male or female. Doesn't matter. Abuse is abuse. Doesn't matter what your sex is. Doesn't matter what your gender is. It just, if you're a narcissist, you're an abuser. Period. There it is. So yeah, so I do wish that they would teach these things in school and critical thinking. So part of what happened in that case with the woman that was doing the no pictures is I said, okay, he needs a picture of her full body and he needs to get, I want a paternity test and I want, a pregnancy test and I want, and of course, as soon as she knew the gig was up, she admitted that she was, she just wanted him back. She loved him so much. I'm like, that's not love. That's lying. That's lying. That's lying to get your way. You were trying to entrap him. How dare you? How dare you? And how dare you drag some friend of yours into this mess to do that? And how dare the friend go along with it? And I'll bet they lied to the friend and said, oh, your belly's so cute. I just want to take a picture of it. It's amazing. It is amazing what these abusers do. The depth of their depravity knows no bounds. It really doesn't. They really truly don't have boundaries. They don't. If it suits them, if it pleases them, if it makes them happy, they'll do it. And they don't care at what cost or what expense. And I think that is something that needs to be taught in schools. When you talk about sex education, abuse needs to be talked about, and not just physical abuse. I think everybody gets all hung up on the physical abuse. Yes, physical abuse absolutely occurs, but it's the emotional, it's the verbal abuse that really messes with kids' minds. You bet. So that needs to be talked about. Absolutely. All right, let's see if there are any other questions. Nope, I think that takes care of it. Okay, so next week we are going to be talking about the enabler. We're going to be talking about not just the enabler parent, but that's going to be the main focus, but we're going to talk about flying monkeys who enable and what to do and all that sort of good stuff. So, all right, so next week we're going to be talking about enablers to abuse, and I'm probably going to title it just, enablers. We'll see if YouTube goes for that or not. They're so weird. It's hard to tell what they'll accept or not. So there is that. You guys have a great week. Take very good care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water. Make sure to do self-care. Self-care is not a baby. Self-care is not a every once in a while. Self-care is daily. That means doing mirror work, looking in the mirror. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to like yourself. Or when you catch your reflection, you say something nice about you. Daily. Self-care does not have to involve spending a lot of money. It can be as simple as positive self-affirmations, or doing journaling, or doing work on one of the workbooks, or saying something nice about yourself, or learning how to take compliments. Ooh, that's probably something we should probably talk about in the future. So anyway, there it is. All right, my loves, have a great week, and I will talk to you on Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's still noon in Arizona. So, all right, talk to you later. Bye.